Hello folks, my name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. How you guys doing? So, do you believe that people have the ability to change? Right. I think most people out there would say yes. Okay. Most people would agree to that because most people change as they get older. Right. And as when you're a child, you think certain things, and as you grow up, you mature, and your ideas change, and you maybe believe that certain things that you believed as a child are incorrect or wrong, and now you believe new things, right? Now, why do I bring this up? Well, there's this story kind of going through right now, this Blackface story, right? And if you're not aware about this, it's basically what's going on is that several politicians in the Deep South, the evidence has come out of them wearing blackface at, when they were kids back in college and in high school. One of them, the most prominent, is Ralph Northam. He's the governor of Virginia. And there's a picture of him wearing blackface in his yearbook when he was in medical school. And then another guy, his attorney general's name is Mark Herring in Virginia. He had acknowledged wearing brown makeup, blackface, when he was 19, basically dressed up as Michael Jackson and went to a party when he was 19 years old. And, a couple of other people out there, right? And here's the thing, okay? These guys are getting a ton of shit from people, right? Basically, Ralph Norton is being asked to step down, and in fact, I think all of them there's pressure from, mainly Democrats to get them to step down. But, Republicans too, although it's more likely the Republicans want these guys to step down because they're Democrats and not because of the, blackface thing, but that's just my own opinion. But, here's the thing about this, right? These are events that, now, some people are going to get pissed off at me for this, but, okay, hear me out, all right? I don't think we should really hold these guys, to task for this. And I'll tell you why. Because these guys did this when they were kids. Okay. Basically, like, the guy, Ralph Norton is 59 years old right now. And he did this. He dressed up in blackface when he was 24, right? That was in 1984. I mean, that's like, what, 34 years ago? Okay. That was a long time ago. All right. The same thing, this other guy, the Attorney General, Mark Herring, he was 19. Okay. I mean, this was over 2 decades ago for that guy. Now, are we going to hold people to account for shit that they did when they were like 19, 20, when they were in college and in high school? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, here's the thing, right? If this happened last year, that'd be kind of a different story, right? Because the climate has changed, a lot in 30 years, okay? Back in, when these guys were in school and stuff like that, it wasn't as, not only was it not as politically charged as it is today, certain attitudes were just more acceptable, and what do I mean by that, right? Well, there was, it was wrong to be a racist back in 1984, right? But there were, it was a different time, okay? And things were more acceptable socially than they are today, especially within those communities that these guys ran in, right? And I think that if you were to take the same, back in the Deep South, right? If you were to take that same community today and do the same thing, people would be much more socially conscious of this, and they would realize, okay, this shit isn't funny. We shouldn't do it. Well, 30 years ago, that wasn't the case. Okay. It was a much more, unpolitically correct time, to put it mildly. All right. Now, does that mean that this guy, Norton, the governor or his lieutenant governor or any of those guys, are they like rabid, crazy racists and they're just hiding it? I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. And here's why I say that. Because when you're young and you're a kid, you do stupid things. Okay? You do stupid fucking things. All right? And as you grow up, you mature and you realize the things I did when I was a child were childish and wrong. And it's called growing up, and everybody does it. I don't think it's just fair, and, I just personally don't think it's fair to hold somebody to something they did 30 years ago. It doesn't seem right to me, okay? Because I think if we were to all go back for everybody, and everybody watching this, if we were to go back to when you were that age, you probably did plenty of stupid things, right? That you're not happy of, you're not proud of. You probably thought many, many things that are wrong or incorrect or even racist, right? And things that you would never do today. And you probably held attitudes back then that you would never hold today, right? And that's, because when you're a kid, you're dumb, all right? Here's another example. So Liam Neeson, the actor, right? Liam Neeson, he played Qui-Gon Jinn, and he was the guy in Taken, and he's the dude that, fought wolves in that one movie, whatever, right? He's a pretty good actor, I think so. And he's got a little bit of a scandal going because he said in an interview that he admitted once years ago when a female friend of his told him that she was raped by a black person. He admitted that he was angry and he went out and he basically was walking around looking to start trouble with a black guy because he wanted to hurt a black person, right? And he said this in an interview, and he was very, ashamed of it in this interview. He said, I did this, and now I realize how wrong and incredibly awful that was. And apparently he went and, talked to a priest and gave confession over this and all that stuff. And the guilt was fucking him up, And he said this in an interview. This was an example of racism that a racist thing that I did and thought of, and I'm ashamed of it. And people are giving him shit for that, on Twitter and stuff like that, calling him a racist, racist old man and all this shit. The thing is, this was an event that he's describing that occurred 40 years ago. 40 years ago. So so just listen to that, all right? 40 years ago, Liam Neeson got pissed off because somebody he cared about was raped, and he got angry, and he had a racist thought, okay? He thought a racist thing, and went out looking for trouble. Didn't act on it. Didn't beat anybody up. He didn't actually go kick anybody's ass or kill anyone. He was just pissed off walking around, right? Thinking about doing it, okay? Didn't actually do it, and now he thinks, he's admitting that he thought these things, and that he's ashamed of them, right? And people are pissed off at him for that. What is wrong with this picture, right? First off, how can you be mad at some shit that somebody thought 40 years ago, right? And then secondly, how can you be mad at him when he himself admits that? So he volunteered this story. He himself admitted that this was wrong, and then he's shameful of this, right? And he would never do it today, right? How could you call that person right? That person's, he's not a racist. He's not a racist. The very fact that he was able to identify that thought as wrong and racist makes him not a racist, okay? In fact, isn't that what we want? We want people to be able to identify these things when they catch themselves acting in that way and thinking these things. We want people to be able to identify that and go, no, that's wrong, okay? Oh, I'm, thinking a racist thought, oh shit, I shouldn't do that, that's wrong. That's what we want, right? If anything, he should be commended for that, for being able to identify this in himself and admit it to himself and overcome it. Fuck. I'm gonna say, right now, okay, me, myself, personally, never did anything like Liam Neeson did, but something, as a kid, I was very homophobic, right? I'm gonna admit it right now. In fact, I used very, very homophobic language in my everyday, conversation. Gay, fag, especially the word homo. The word homo, me and my friends when I was 18, 19, 17, we would, say that constantly to each other, calling each other homo, stuff like that. Very, something that I would never do that today, right? And here's the thing, right? Even when I was that age, when I was 18, 19, 20, I never would have gone up and beat up a gay person or even discriminated against a gay person like that. I never would have said anything like that. In fact, I never have in my life, right? But that was just a normal part of my language. And it didn't even occur to me that that was wrong, okay? And that somebody overhearing me talking might be, really seriously offended or hurt by that, right? Or made to feel like they were like less than human just listening to me casually talk. It didn't even occur to me that that was like a problem, all right? Okay, because 20 years ago, right, that was, a different time. See, you can't blame people for acting, decades in the past when they didn't know any better, right? Especially when they were children, essentially, when you're 19, 18, 19, 17. Even in college, when you're in college, what do you fucking do in college anyway? Drink constantly and party, right? Maybe turn in a paper once in a while. Okay, you're basically, a teenager plus 5 years when you're in college, all right? You can't blame people for shit they did when they were kids and they didn't fucking know, right, what was right and what was wrong, especially when 30 years ago it was a different culture, right? See, people, the kids nowadays out there on the internet and shit like that, right? You don't understand what it was like, right? Shit was way different when I was growing up, right? I mean, and I can only imagine, somebody like this, this governor, he's like 20 years older than me. To be honest, things have really changed a lot. In fact, I think that's probably the biggest difference from when I was a child to today. Like if a time traveler were to come from 1984, and when I was like, 8 years old, and then show up here today, I think they'd be very, very surprised about how different this society we have today treats, gay people and trans people, and, and even to some extent, minorities. Black people, Latinos, Asians, right? It's a lot different. Times have changed a lot, People change as well. And I think you really need to kind of, especially in cases like this, you got to kind of take that under consideration, right? So, I don't know. I'm gonna throw my hat out and say I don't think these guys should resign, right? I don't think they should for some shit that they did when they were children, right, 30, 40 years ago. I don't think so. I don't think Liam Neeson should have his career destroyed for a thought that he had 40 years ago. No, right. Show me some evidence that these guys are racist today and, policies that they're, these politicians are supporting, which are like really racist, right? Show me a photo of them last year dressed up in blackface, right? Or a recording of Liam Neeson, recently using the N-word or some shit like that, and I'll be all with you, right, in condemning these guys. But for shit that they did when they were children, I don't fucking think so. I think you gotta let people, you have to understand that people grow up, right, and they change and they mature as you grow up, and you got to give people a chance to do that, I think. Anyway, that's all I got. Adios, folks.